Good morning, people. I have been shouting and screaming in studio this morning, and I just wanted to share some stuff with you that's been happening to me personally. I've been having kind of, quite frankly, a really low period, and then I'm coming out of this low period and seeing the duality of everything that is. I had this vision the other evening, and it was quite profound. It will bring me to tears talking about it, because it was a full-bodied experience. But in this vision, I was in what I can only describe as the Garden of Eden, and in this beautiful garden where there was no sun, but there was this beautiful warm sunlight energy all around. There was absolutely no sense of any fear or discomfort, all of those lower frequencies of yuck, the things that make you feel yuck. There was none of that feeling at all. I was just like, home. And as I was in this garden, I could see a central tree, and the central tree had an infinity sign, and it was the duality of black and white, good and evil, all the dualities, the polarized opposites. And this tree was earth, and I knew that that was an earthly experience, that tree. And I was outside of it, I was sort of in heaven looking at it going, oh, is that earth? And it really just clicked and made sense to me in that moment, in that state of consciousness, that higher reality, that I was looking at earth from such a different perspective. I wasn't in it, I wasn't consumed by it, I wasn't feeling heavy, that this material world was not a reality to me. I was looking at it from a very external perspective, and I could see down on earth that there were all kinds of people busying themselves, and I could see the cities, and I could see people's lives and little cars going by and people wandering around, and I was like, half of those people are completely unaware of this. Like, half those people just don't, they think that's all there is, they think that's it. And I know for myself that there have been moments where you get so heavily infiltrated with this perceived reality that we think it's dense, we think it's immovable, it's you can't shape it and mold it. And recently, if you've been watching my videos, I've been feel like Spirit's really trying to adjust my mind to say, you are not stuck, you are not a victim of your circumstance, you are the author and creator of your life, and it's just a matter of adjusting your perceptions, which I know, and I've had experience of it, but you sort of dip in and dip out. From this perspective, it just was like, oh, right, okay, I'm seeing it, I'm really seeing it now, that this is almost like, it felt like a playground in the middle of a beautiful garden, but that was not where we lived. Like, that, we should exist outside of it. We should be aware of this heavenly state, this higher perspective, this beautiful state of love, joy, peace, goodness, kind. Like, it was just, I was home. And then the Spirit said to me, well, that's where you learn. Like, going into that place and forgetting is part of the whole thing. You have to go there, you have to forget that you are more than that you are not just a physical being, a physical vessel moving around in this earth experience from 0 to whatever age you pass on, doing your 9 to 5 and being controlled by the system that tells you, because there's rules down there, there's supposed things that we're supposed to follow, and I've always been the one that doesn't. But it was like, for some people, they have no concept of this beautiful reality that I am also a free soul, I'm a free spirit, and there's all this. And as I looked, I was panning out, there was 12 other trees around the tree of the earth. And I was like, these are all different forms of consciousness. These are things that I want to explore. Like, if that's earth in that tree, and look how big earth is and the experience of earth, and we think it's a lifetime. What do these other trees represent? What are these other experiences that are sort of unavailable? And then I was thinking, well, maybe when we die, we come up here and then we get to explore another tree. And Spirit said to me, no, these are streams of consciousness that can exist within your vessel whilst you're on earth, and you can have a totally different sense of reality when you incorporate these other trees. And he said, I want you to go. It wasn't a person, but it was a man voice, like a spirit, I guess, like God, I don't know. This voice was just gently whispering in my ear and saying, you're on earth to remind people of these other options, that you're here to lighten the load to people's physical, dense experience where they're blind. They're blind and they're deaf to, they've forgotten. They're blind with forgetfulness, that there are these other options, these other ways of living, there's other ways of being, other ways of feeling. And I saw myself sort of jumping back into the earth tree. And as I was falling back into the earth reality, Spirit said, you have eaten of all of those trees. You have eaten of all of those trees. And the fruit, the fruit is on your lips. Like, it's still there. Like, you're munching away on this fruit. And when you fall to earth, or when you're in the earth perception, you cannot help but speak of the fruits of these other trees, because these trees represent streams of consciousness and streams of understanding. And then I went and did a little bit of research on it. I was like, is there such a thing as the 12 trees of Eden, and around this central tree? And lo and behold, yes, this exists in the Kabbalah, in mysticism, in sort of all kinds of books, different perceptions of it, but people have spoken about these 12 trees, but there's always a central tree. And more in the writings that I found, the central tree was the tree of life. But what I saw when I was down on that earth is you go through that earth experience, and then the whole point is a bit like the story of Persephone or the hero's journey, all the things I harp on about. There is a journey through transformation where what we're supposed to be doing is removing all the forgetfulness and returning to oneness, or returning to that unity. We're returning to that space of like heaven and earth meet, and yet we get lost. And so Spirit was like, people need reminding. They've forgotten. They're like too in their heads, and they're not in their hearts, they're not in their soul, they're not in their spirit, and they've forgotten that it actually should feel good. And of course we learn these lessons, and what do we learn from bad experiences? We learn, let's say we've lost someone. What do we learn from losing someone? That's the joy of having someone. Like the stories of duality are there to show us what is good and what is right and what we want, you know. And it can sometimes seem cruel, but it really depends on your perspective and your perception of these things. Anyway, these trees exist, and as I went through the list of the names of these trees, I could really identify with that I have eaten of those trees. I have eaten of the tree of knowledge, of wisdom that is ethereal. It's not worldly wisdom, it's spiritual wisdom. Or there's divine insight, like there's an intuition, or knowing that you can know things about situations and people with no factual evidence in front of you. It's not of this world, it's a spiritual principle, it's a spiritual knowing. There was the gift of interpretation of dreams and visions, and there was all kinds. And I was like, I could tick all of these things, going, yes, I experience all of those things as a human. And I really feel like that is something that is massive in my soul blueprint, is to come here and remind people that this isn't it. This is not it. And there are other options. There are other ways of living that are more fulfilling and more joyful. Even in the sorrow, there is a way of experiencing things from a higher perspective. And it's really quite momentary, this life that we're living. And it really is a waste to walk through it without tasting and eating and seeing that God is good. Like life, it can be good. There are other ways of living, and it really reminded me of Narnia, C.S. Lewis, where they went through the cupboard as kids, and they lived, because I saw myself becoming this queen, and I did all these things, and then I was like, well, then I return here and I'm like a baby again. And then what, do we just keep going through having more experiences? And it really reminds me of Narnia, where they have a whole life and they become kings and queens, and then they go back through the cupboard and they're kids and no one has even noticed that they've been gone.